And we are involved talking about women's basketball. We ended the week talking about Baylor's tilt with TCU, and it went down yesterday afternoon. The team lost, and the game was on FS1, which I don't know why I had trouble finding that. It was a pain in the ass. I was like pulling up YouTube TV.
Well, it was a delayed start.
Oh, it was?
Yeah. The game before went into overtime, so
Okay.
it started on FS2
Huh.
and then moved over.
Yeah, I'll do it. Okay. I didn't even know that my buddy Madison Hawk, who does Inside the 12 with me, the football edition, she was actually an analyst on the game. So I'm going to try to get her on this week because I know she's going to be at the Big 12 tournament. I want to talk to her about what's going on with Baylor, what's going on in the world of women's basketball as we head towards this tournament. There is a lot to discuss when you talk about Baylor's hoops, whether it is men's or women. But this morning, we're going to start with the women. I texted Cam before the game, and I kind of blamed it on him. I'm like, wow, you got me really excited for women's basketball. And I was really pumped for this game. The line was Baylor minus 1.5. And I have it in writing if I had to show you, but I texted Cam. I said, I would hammer TCU on this one. I love TCU getting the points. I just do because TCU has shown us who they are this year. And TCU has a bread and butter offense, right? Like Sedona Prince, Haley Van Lath. Like, they're just able to score. Sadie, get out of there. What is she doing? She's just like hanging out by wires? Yeah. But Baylor doesn't have the rhythmic scoring that TCU has, and they certainly don't have it down the stretch, which is something that I feel like Nikki Collin, an amazing coach, and this isn't really, I shouldn't even say I feel like. Somebody put me onto this earlier this season, somebody who knows way more basketball than I do, a basketball person, former NBA guy and women's hoops junkie. Nikki has this amazing ability to operate in the world of X's and O's. And she's clearly a great leader of women and people in general. But I do feel as though her teams down the stretch, if there's one knock, and let's go ahead, this is sports, we like to find things that are wrong with stuff. And as we celebrate Baylor in this great regular season they had, winning 9 of their last 10 games, and you lose your last game for a regular season Big 12 championship, which, by the way, was the first time in 29 years the Big 12 came down to their very last game to decide the regular season championship. About 7,000, maybe more. I think a sellout yesterday at Foster. Yeah, a sellout, Scotty's saying. And I feel like I shouldn't say we, but I do love Baylor. There is a panic that sets in with this team down the stretch when they're down or they need a shot. I've seen that before this season where they move too fast. There is a lack of moxie and know-how. And there's a real issue for Baylor and this team going down the stretch, and this is something I worry about a little bit. Sarah Andrews can't have 0 points, and she can't be 0 of 7 from 3, right? Like, that's your badass. Like, that's your person who leads you in confidence, right? I mean, like, if there's one thing Sarah Andrews gives you, she's a dog. And she's not afraid to take big shots. She's played more basketball games than any other woman in Baylor women's basketball history. She sat right over there with me in this studio earlier this year, and we talked about the type of player she is. And, if somebody – hey, get out of there. If somebody is – that's a dog, by the way, if you're just joining us. She's the kind of girl like when everybody's leaving and you're going to the spot, right? Whether it's some place to hang out at night, whether it is a place where you want to go to dinner, she's grabbing the keys, right? She's the type of person that grabs the keys. She's the driver. She's the leader. At the end of the game, like when a person with that personality that can score offensively is not involved at all, you better have somebody else who's like lights out on fire, right? Because otherwise, you've got a team now that's made up of hey, what do we do here? Who's going to take this last shot? I will say major positive, and this is something you got to feel real good about if you're Baylor fans. Dariana Littlepage-Buggs didn't even play, and you still took them all the way down to the last possession. So it's a loss, but at the same time, it's something like it's really an opportunity to learn. TCU, by the way, what they have done is amazing. In the 2 years or the 3 years before this new coach took over, now this is his second year, they collectively won 7 games. 7 games, right? In 3 seasons. This was a dormant program. They are now one of the best programs in the country with some of the best talent. Sedona Prince, we chronicled her off-the-court adventures here last Friday in a pretty funny segment. And in her 7th year of eligibility, she is rocking and rolling for TCU. And I think she is a one of one. And when I texted Cam and I said, hey, I've got, Sedona Prince, I've got TCU winning this in a walk against Baylor, especially when I saw the line. All I'm thinking about is that Littlepage-Buggs isn't playing and Sedona Prince is Sedona Prince. And that's the type of player that you can lean on all the way deep into a tournament run. And I'll tell you one more thing that plays into Sedona Prince, and this is something that's positive. What has gone on off the floor, all the issues and concerns that have been raised, and TCU settling down and allowing her to stay with the team and to keep her status as eligible, right, on the floor, I think that shows us that whatever is going on, somebody had a conversation with her, right? And I do not think that Sedona Prince is the type of person, and I don't know enough about the situation, but we get to offer up opinions, right, based on the information we've been able to gather. I feel like we're not talking about somebody who's a felon. We're not talking about somebody who's like a nightmare or like a real bad person. I think we're talking about a young woman who's made some mistakes in relationships, right? Which, raise your hand. Yeah, exactly. That's everybody. I think maybe she's been scared straight a little bit, and really will be laser focused on the floor in the NCAA tournament, in the Big 12 tournament. So I say all that to say, look out for TCU. This is a very good team. And if I have one hope for Baylor, it is that they can find that bread and butter offense down the stretch, right, in big games, because there's going to be a bunch of them. Scotty, did you watch that game, the women's game?
Sorry, now I'm unmuted.
Were you barbecuing, or what was
I
happening?
did. I ended up getting into a pretty involved political conversation with my mother, which is not something we do often. So the first half I was a little distracted, and then we were really locked in the second half watching the game. I agree with everything you said. I'd be curious what you think. Bear the Truth asked a good question. If Buggs play, does Baylor win that game?
Yeah, I think so.
I definitely think at home.
Yeah. I do think they win. Because Littlepage-Buggs, again, she's not she's frustrating too, because she'll miss a lot of bunnies. She's frustrating missing the layups and stuff.
I think what I love about this women's team, though, and they shot poorly last night, too. That was part of this,
shot
too, right?
18 to 65 or something.
Terrible. So, the combination of she didn't play and you shot horrible. If you shoot well and or if she plays, you'd think Baylor has a great shot to win that game. But what I was going to say is, this is a team that is easily Nikki Collins' deepest team ever. Yeah. There's 5 or 6 girls that can, put up some points when needed. And I think that's really going to help them come tournament time.
Yeah.
That Baylor is not, you talked about Sarah Andrews, and Sarah Andrews is an important piece of this team. But last couple seasons, there were games where it felt like Sarah Andrews was the only one who could score.
Yeah.
And now it's there's 5 or 6 ladies here that can score at will, depending on the situation in the game. And so I still feel really good about this particular roster's opportunity in the tournament coming up. Unlike our men's team, in which I feel the opposite.
What was